The same factories, the same robots, two giant companies in the same industry, producing millions of vehicles in the same year, and yet something is strange. One of them makes about $2,500 on every car it sells. The other one loses around $1,200 on every single car.
Yes, it sells cars, but it loses money doing it. When I first heard this, I didn't believe it either. I thought there had to be a mistake somewhere, because this story isn't about quality. It's not about engineering. It's not even about the decisions being made today. The real difference lies in a single decision made decades ago. In this video, I'll show you how two companies doing essentially the same job ended up with completely opposite results. And let me be clear, this isn't just a story about cars. If you stay until the end, you'll see how this one difference decides who wins and who quietly loses in the business world. And maybe you'll even start questioning the decisions you're making today. Two companies build cars in factories that look remarkably similar. Both use robots, they both employ thousands of skilled workers, both sell millions of vehicles every year. Yet the financial difference between the two companies is almost impossible to believe. One company makes a profit of about $2,500 on every vehicle. The other loses about $1,200 per car. It doesn't make less profit, it loses money. It loses money. It actually spends more to build and sell each vehicle than it gets back from the customer. I'm talking about Toyota Motor Corporation and Ford Motor Company. When I first saw these numbers, I thought there must be a mistake. How can two companies in the same industry end up with completely opposite financial results? It's not about one company being smart and the other being stupid. Ford has some of the best automotive engineers in the world. They invented the moving assembly line. The explanation must be deeper than mere competence. What I discovered is that the difference comes down to philosophy. Two different systems were created by choices made decades ago. Toyota based its manufacturing philosophy on the constraints it faced in post-war Japan. They lacked the capital to build massive factories with huge inventories. They could not afford to waste materials. Everything had to be efficient because inefficiency could lead to bankruptcy. Toyota developed an approach in which every action in the factory had to add value. If a process did not improve the product or bring it closer to completion, it was considered wasteful and needed to be eliminated. When designing a manufacturing process, Toyota asks, how can we build this with zero wasted motion, zero wasted material, and zero wasted time? Every tool placement matters. Every step a worker takes matters. Rather than inspecting for quality afterward, they built quality into the process itself. Most manufacturers build things and then check them. Toyota designed their processes so that defects became nearly impossible. They gave workers the authority to stop the entire production line if they noticed something was wrong. The financial impact is profound. When you systematically eliminate waste, costs drop. When you build quality into your products, warranty costs drop. When you prevent mistakes, rework costs decrease. Toyota treated its suppliers as partners, not adversaries. The company helped its suppliers improve their processes. They shared knowledge. They established long-term relationships based on mutual success. As a result, parts arrived exactly when needed, built to exact specifications, and at predictable costs. There were no massive warehouses. There were no huge quality inspection departments. All of this adds up to dramatically lower manufacturing costs per vehicle than competitors. However, cost is only half the equation. Toyota has also built a reputation for reliability, which allows them to maintain pricing power. A Toyota might not be exciting, but people trust that it will run without major problems for 200,000 miles. They make roughly $2,500 per vehicle in profit from the difference between what it costs them to build a car and what customers pay. Ford built its business on a different philosophy: high volume production, large factories, economies of scale. The idea was that if you built enough vehicles, you could spread fixed costs over more units. This strategy worked brilliantly for decades. But then something changed. The market fragmented. Customers no longer wanted just a few models. They wanted variety. different sizes, different features. Ford responded by offering more variety. However, variety reduces efficiency in a traditional high-volume system. Each time you change what you're building, it takes more time. You need different parts. You need different tools. Ford also created a highly complex network of supplier relationships. They had thousands of suppliers, and their relationship was purely transactional. They bid on a contract, win based on the lowest price. This created instability. Suppliers had no loyalty. Quality varied because suppliers were under constant pressure to cut costs. Parts often arrived late or were incorrect, so Ford needed massive inventories as buffers. All of this adds cost. Inventory costs money. Quality inspections cost money too. Rework costs money too. Warranty repairs cost money too. However, the real problem is that Ford operates in market segments where they cannot charge enough to cover these costs. Ford competes heavily in the truck and sport utility vehicle markets, which are brutally competitive.
Ford offers incentives to maintain market share. 0% financing, cash back, fleet discounts. These incentives come directly out of the profit margin. So, for example, if a Ford truck has a sticker price of $50,000, the actual transaction price might be $43,000. If it cost $44,200 to build, then Ford just lost $1,200. Ford is trapped in a system built for a different era. Toyota designed its manufacturing system to be flexible. They can build different models on the same assembly line without causing major disruptions. The changeover time is measured in minutes, not hours. When Toyota introduces a new model, it is designed to share components with existing models. Engines, transmissions, and suspension parts are standardized across multiple vehicle lines. This dramatically reduces complexity. Having only 3 engine types instead of 12 makes everything simpler and cheaper. Toyota also approaches labor differently. Workers are problem solvers. They are trained to identify inefficiencies and suggest improvements. Over time, the manufacturing process keeps getting better. At Ford, however, the relationship between management and labor has been more adversarial. This makes it harder to create the collaborative culture that Toyota has established. Toyota makes money by building small, fuel-efficient cars. While models like the Corolla and Camry may not generate excitement, they reliably generate profit year after year. Ford largely abandoned the small car market in the United States. The company focused on trucks and sport utility vehicles, where margins seemed better. However, Ford became completely dependent on that segment. When truck sales slow down, Ford has no cushion. Toyota also builds trucks. However, they also have the Corolla, Camry, RAV4, and Prius, which generate steady profits across different segments. If one segment struggles, the others compensate. This diversification is strategic. Toyota understood that depending entirely on one type of vehicle is risky. If Toyota's system is so much better, why doesn't Ford just copy it? The answer is that you can't just copy a system like this. It's a culture built over decades. Changing that requires changing how everyone thinks about their work. Ford has tried to adopt elements of the Toyota production system. They bring in consultants, they train managers, they implement new processes. However, they rarely see transformation because they are grafting a new system onto an old culture. Toyota's system works because everyone believes in its underlying philosophy. Eliminate waste, build quality in, solve problems at the root. The culture at Ford was built on different principles: volume, scale, engineering prowess. These principles have created success for over a century. Changing them would feel like betraying what made the company great. Toyota operates with a longer time horizon than most American companies. They make decisions based on what will work over decades, not quarters. When Toyota invests in supplier relationships, they build partnerships that deliver value for 20 years. They know the payoff from investing in quality systems comes slowly. Ford operates under short-term pressure. Shareholders want results now. Quarterly earnings matter. It is hard to justify a decision that will not show positive results within a year or two.
This difference affects everything. It affects how much you invest in quality, how you treat suppliers. It affects how you train workers. Toyota earns $2,500 per car because they have spent decades building a system that eliminates waste, builds quality into the product, maintains flexibility, and operates with a long-term perspective. Ford loses $1,200 per car because they operate a system designed for a different era. It made sense when variety was low and volume was everything. The difference between the two companies is $3,700 per vehicle. This difference represents thousands of decisions about manufacturing, supplier relations, and quality. Both companies are aware of these numbers. Ford's executives understand that they are losing money. However, they are trapped in an incredibly difficult to change system. Changing manufacturing culture is not like changing a marketing campaign. You have decades of established relationships, embedded processes, physical infrastructure, all built around the current system. Transforming all of that while continuing to build and sell millions of vehicles is like rebuilding an airplane while flying it. Can Ford survive losing money on every car? Can they transform their system enough to compete? The answer depends on how much time they have and how committed they are to fundamental change. Ford has financial reserves. They can absorb losses for a while, but not forever. They need to either radically reduce manufacturing costs or radically increase prices. Both take years.
Toyota is facing challenges too. The automotive industry is being reshaped by electrification, changing ownership models, and new competitors. Systems designed for internal combustion vehicles may not be as effective in an electric future. However, Toyota has a culture of continuous improvement deeply embedded in its DNA. When the world changes, the company can adapt quickly. Ford, on the other hand, must hope to build that same adaptability quickly. The numbers suggest time is not on its side. The difference between earning $2,500 per vehicle and losing $1,200 per vehicle demonstrates how decisions made decades ago can lead to significant advantages or disadvantages over time. This story proves that in manufacturing, culture matters as much as technology. Long-term thinking is just as important as quarterly results. Success is never permanent. What works brilliantly in one era can become a liability in the next. This gap will not close by accident. It will require intentional, sustained, and often painful changes over many years. That kind of change is the hardest thing any organization can attempt.